next, and Greg kind of already mentioned the segue, but will be Jason DeRuyver from Michigan DOT, and he will be also talking about the pocket guides, the apps, and some of the training courses available.
All right, so I'm Jason DeRuyver from the Michigan DOT. I'm the structure maintenance engineer for Michigan. Today I'm going to talk about, it's pretty much going to be a commercial for the BPETG's pocket guides and apps and the training courses we're partnering with getting developed. So the FHWA Bridge Preservation Expert Task Group has a total of 22 members, one from each one of the TSP2 partnerships. I'm the Midwest Bridge Preservation Partnerships representative on the ETG. We get together once a month for a conference call, once a year face-to-face, to talk about bridge preservation, how to get the word out on bridge preservation. Basically up on the screen right now I have our goals and strategic objectives. So we're trying to get the word out on cost-effective bridge preservation strategies. We're trying to communicate the benefits of including bridge preservation as part of an asset management program. And we're trying to really foster a collaborative environment that encourages research and innovation. A lot of the other members, we have industry members on the ETG. Several of them are in this room, I believe. Dave Jutton somewhere in the room, possibly from the Kircher groups on the ETG. Greg's on the ETG representing industry as well. I'm going to go into pretty much our recent activities and updates, what the ETG's been up to. As Greg mentioned, we now have 3 smartphone apps that we took our pocket guides, all 3 of our pocket guides, and had them developed into smartphone apps. If you go to the App Store, the easiest way to find all 3 of them with one search is the company that developed the apps from the pocket guides is called Applied Research. So if you type Applied Research into your search bar in the App Store, all 3 apps will come up. There's a bunch of other apps that come up when you type that in as well, but all 3 apps come up when you type in Applied Research. Well, how are these pocket guide apps laid out? They have 4 tabs at the bottom of the app. The first tab is a PDF of the actual pocket guide that you can scroll through. The second tab is the Notes tab, and the Notes tab basically covers what the app is for, how it's used. The next tab is your Checklist tab, and then within the Checklist tab you can actually select on a checklist you want to look at. So let's dig into the Thin Polymer Overlay Pocket Guide app. This is the Notes tab up close. Basically, the Notes tab tells you what the Thin Polymer Overlay Pocket Guide was meant to be. Basically, it tells you what a thin polymer overlay is for. It says it's to minimize intrusion of moisture, de-icing chemicals, and other potentials of sources of premature degradation of concrete bridge decks. That tells you the intended users. It's to educate the designer, owner, contractor, and inspectors about thin polymer overlay installations and best practices. So it's really trying to target every single person that could possibly be involved in the thin polymer overlay. Also the intent I want to mention was this is like on-demand information. So if you're like an inspector in the field and this is your first thin polymer overlay coming up next week, you can download this app, and this is going to be a really good guide for how you can go through and make sure you're successful in inspecting that. Next tab in the Thin Polymer Overlay app is the checklists. You can see there's a ton of checklists you can go through depending on what your interface is. If you're a maintenance person, you can go to the checklist that's titled Equipment and Tools that you need to gather up before you go out and do the Thin Polymer Overlay. You got the mixing checklist, the placement checklist. Just digging a little deeper into the app, let's go into my favorite topic in thin polymer overlays. Let's look at the surface preparation checklist. It's the most important step. Each one of these checklists has a toggle on it, so as an item is completed in the field, you can actually check it, and it turns that little toggle to green, and that indicates that it's been completed. So if you look at this checklist, there's items like, is there a requirement for an adhesive bond test for this project? If so, is the necessary equipment to do the adhesive bond test on site? Have any unsound areas been properly repaired with a compatible repair mortar? It's got other things like here, shot blast the entire deck with the equipment, shot size, and equipment speed that's listed in your specification. And then it gives a reference to the ICR technical guideline that you should look up if you have any questions on that. is all the dust and debris removed just before the application of your thin polymer overlay. Final note, apply the overlay system immediately after the final cleaning has taken place. And it also notes that you need to re-clean it if you have it open for more than 24 hours in between final cleaning and application. The next app I wanted to cover is our bridge coating app. It's the removal and replacement of bridge coatings. So this is a full coating app. A future app is going to be for the maintenance painting and spot painting. Bridge coating pocket guide, like I said, on that very first screen is the actual PDF. You can just use your thumb to scroll up and down and read the pocket guide right from that very first tab that you're in. And this one, the introduction is, this guide has been developed to encourage better understanding of the process for completely removing and replacing bridge coatings for structural steel elements. And it goes from there, the rest of the pocket guide. Here's some checklists for the bridge coatings. I have to tell everyone here, as an employee of the Michigan DOT, I'm required to discuss safety in every presentation I have. So I'm going to click on the how the equipment and personnel will access the work area safely checklist, and we'll go over that real quick. So in the bridge coating safety checklist, we have identify the toxicity of the existing coating. You know, does your existing coating that's going to be removed have lead, PCBs, chromium? Identify the removal, safe handling, and disposal methods of the hazardous materials. Maintain safe and uncluttered passageways for foot traffic in the containment system and between staging and work areas. Ensure employees are trained on the proper fit and use of their respirators. Review personnel protective equipment. Review the procedure for decontamination and handling of contaminated clothing. And confirm that all SDS sheets are on site. Bridge cleaning. If you noticed up in the top left corner of every single app on the opening screen, you have the little 3 lines. And if you click on the little 3 lines button in the top left corner, you actually pop up a table of contents for every pocket guide. So you can easily jump to any topic within the pocket guide that you want. On this one, I clicked on frequency of cleaning just to kind of see what kind of guidelines the pocket guide is giving on frequency of cleaning. You know, it said bridge owners should set performance targets for activities such as bridge cleaning. And then it talks about these targets are a baseline and do not account for unique circumstances at your bridge. And the following factors may help bridge owners establish the appropriate cleaning frequency. It discusses types of contaminants that might collect on a bridge, immediate danger that deposits could create, such as drainage backing up from blocked bridge drains and scuppers, location of the bridge where specific contaminants would collect, and it talks about the most appropriate method of cleaning and the necessary equipment to do the cleaning. If you look at the bridge cleaning checklist, there's not a whole lot of them. One thing I would like to note is we're going to dig into the environmental regulations example that we got from Washington State DOT. They allow flushing the bridge after the bridge has undergone a dry cleaning, requires drains to be protected to prevent dirty water from entering the stream, requires steel bridges that have flaky paint to be hand clean only and not washed, and they require bridges not over waterways to be hand cleaned. I know you're thinking throughout all this presentation that, you know, well, my state doesn't do it that way, or my state does it a little different this way. If you've noticed, on every single checklist and on every single checklist tab, there's a button at the top, that's upper right, that says add. You can actually add within the app your own customized checklists and your customized tasks within each checklist. So I just clicked on add, and I added a customized couple of checklist items to be added for Michigan DOT, and I hit save, and I went back to the checklist. And now you can see that the checklist we were just looking at now includes 2 Michigan DOT buttons that you can click on. And it's just within my app on my phone. I added Michigan DOT requires full collection of solids prior to flushing, and the Michigan DOT requires all collected solids to be disposed of at hazardous material landfills. Now, when you've clicked on one of the checklists, radio buttons to turn it to green indicating that it's been done. Also, in the blue bar on the top of every app screen, there's an email report button. And so I emailed myself a report, and you can see it lists every single checklist item. And if it's completed, because you turn the radio button green, it says true. And if it was not completed because it was either unnecessary or you didn't do it, it says false. and it gives you a date and time that you actually recorded the checklist, and it generates an email to yourself. So the future topics of the pocket guides, as Greg mentioned, deck patching is in final production. I got a final review email a few days ago that I need to look at. We're also going to be working on spot, zone, and overcoat painting and concrete substructure repairs. Future topics that we haven't started yet, concrete superstructure repairs, rigid overlays, steel superstructure repairs, clean reset and grease bearings, and removing channel debris and scour repairs. And so each one of these, the intent is to have a pocket guide and a pocket guide app. Another thing we did is we partnered with Ashto TC3. I think Greg had a very similar slide to this. This is another one of those things. The intent behind partnering with Ashto TC3 was that they would take our pocket guides and develop them into what they call micro trainings that are basically on demand. Like I said before, let's say everyone in this room has probably taken one of those week-long NHI classes, you know, and you got overloaded with information and you don't necessarily remember it all, and now you're faced with having to do a thin polymer overlay, and you're not quite sure where to get that information from. So this, in conjunction with the pocket guides, you can now take a 1-hour class online through Ashto TC3, like the week before, or the day before even, that you're supposed to go out in the field and work on a thin polymer overlay for the first time, and actually get that information on demand when you need it. Current classes they have, I didn't list all of the bridge classes they have. They have a couple on construction and inspection, but all 3 pocket guides, as well as the bridge preservation guide that the ETG put together, has been turned into classes. And for those of us that need PDHs, they do come with PDH certificates. As Greg mentioned, all these TC3 classes are free for employees of state DOTs that contribute annually to the TC3 Technical Service Program. He mentioned that local agencies have access to them. I'm not sure if those are free or not, depending on the state that they're in. Even if they're not free, the maximum I saw for a class was $50 for an online class. So, questions?
Jason, can you just tell us again where to find this? Because I was just going on and trying to find it, and it was a little challenging to find that screen that you had up on the TSP2 website. Or can you, maybe, I know you'll share the links and stuff that you had, but I just want to make sure that people can find all of the information. And I know it went really fast, so that's the only.
All of the pocket guides are on the TSP2 website.
There's a button on the front page of the website, tsp2.org/bridge, and you get the main page. And over on the right-hand side, there's a column, and it has pocket guide. You can also find them on your phone. I just found them on my phone to make sure.
So the app, you said you could add state specific, but that just is on your iPhone and your version. How do you ensure all the inspectors in your regions are consistent? Can you roll out things that you've entered in there to your employees?
You'd probably have to roll it out in an email telling them to add that to their own personal app. I mean, that's my understanding of how the app works.
Hey Jason, so if your app through TSP2, is that compatible with Ashto thin polymer overlay and construction Ashto, or is that has to be similar, or is that because sometimes state specific, they go onto maybe certain stuff like the previous speaker, the contractor say I didn't bid it this way or I did it this way. So
the app is meant for your spec writer as well, to look at what the best practices are, to possibly consider updating your state specification, which is why the checklist can be customized.
The bridge preservation guide is also on the front page of the website.
Correct. And I believe everyone got a copy of the bridge preservation guide when they checked in.
Yes, all the states got one, and if once all the states have them, if anybody else would like one and we have some extras, you're more than welcome to take them.
Thank you, Jason.
The preceding was produced by the National Center for Pavement Preservation. More information can be found on the web at pavementpreservation.org. Additional support provided by Michigan State University.